All right, folks. Well, we are in for a treat here. A little bit of a solo pod we got going on. So we are going to be joined by Liam Jackson here to be interviewed on after his big series with the walk-off home run, Cats versus Magic. Cats did their job somewhat. They kept their hopes alive, but they did not sweep the Magic to secure their spot. So their fate is in the hands of the Mallards. But yeah, interesting podcast, solo hosting. So strap in because it's kind of all over the place. Interview with Liam. We get to our comment of the week, little fuzzy numbies action. I kind of recap the series, update you guys, Waffle House, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. I am solo hosting this podcast. So this is totally the first time that we're taking this right now. I definitely did not forget to hit record on the audio to start this interview off with LJ. Should mention that I'm joined here with my friend Liam Jackson. Liam, how we doing?
I feel great. Like I said, like I told you before, this is my first time on, so it's thrilled. Like I said, it feels like I've finally made it in the league being on this podcast. I try to listen to this as much as possible. It's very entertaining. So I hope that I don't, hope I reach that standard today. I hope I'm not a boring guest.
No, I don't think you will be at all. That for the record, folks, that was off off script, off the record. We were not trying to record when Liam told me that. I totally did not forget to push the button, the record button. That did not happen. But yeah, so I was surprised to hear that Liam, it was his first time on. I thought he had been on at least once before, especially, since the trade with the Magic. So I guess just give us your thoughts, LJ, on what it was like, playing against the Magic, against your former team, being traded, kind of what it's been like being a Wildcat. Just give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the whole trade and from the moment it happened until now, there's never been any bad blood between me and the Magic and you, Jack. All love and I was happy that you guys won it last year. I was when I was getting live updates during the series, I was excited, hoping that you guys were going to come back and pull it off. So I'm glad you did. Playing you guys before and after the series, we hang out, we talk, but during the series, we got a job to do with the Wildcats, and we have standards that we would like to reach. We have good players, so we know what we can do on the field. So during the games, it's all business, but before and after, all love with you guys. So, yeah, nothing bad on my end. I hope it's the same over there.
No, it's definitely the same. I mean, I must admit, just if someone on that team was going to break our hearts with a walk-off home run, I was happy it was you. But you kind of mentioned the friendship, obviously all business during the series, but before and after and outside of wiffle ball, I know you're good friends with Jordan. I know you kind of during the video, you were messing around with him a little bit. I guess just for the folks who might not know, give them some background on your relationship with Jordan and just what you guys were doing during the series.
Yeah, so me and Jordan have been good friends for a few years now. Played when I used to play video games, we played video games together all the time. Now play wiffle ball, play basketball, and actually, me and him hasn't started yet, but we're coaching a freshman basketball team together. Come early November, so that'll be fun. So we're close off the field. During the series, I know he wasn't feeling the greatest during that series. I think he was sick I think that series was right after Wiffle in the mitten, so I think he was a little sick after that. So I wasn't trying to go too hard at him, but before I hit that homer. I think right before that, Pat dove into first. He kind of knocked the wind out of himself, so we took a second to make sure he was all right. And as I was walking back, he was kind of sitting on the bench, looking a little sheepish at me. So I tried to honestly, it was more for me just to let the nerves loose a little bit, knowing the stakes, and I just blew him a little kiss, little nod, and then the first pitch of the at bat was when I ended up hitting that homer off Trev. So I don't know, it was just helped me not be as nervous, and kind of funny at the time. Didn't really plan it, just kind of looked at him and smiled. So
Yeah, absolutely. I want to I we're all about the truth here on the Pipe It Up podcast. We tell it like it is. You mentioned that you listen to it, so I know you know that. Uh I will not say that I have a very uh appealing swing to watch. It's not a very nice swing to the eye. But I also think you don't have like a textbook baseball swing or anything like that. Yet I would say, playing against you, you consistently have some of the best at bats in the league. I guess what's your sports background? Um, where do you kind of draw your like skills from like into wiffle ball? I guess how did you even start playing wiffle ball?
so I played any sport I could think of really growing up, and I was okay at baseball until probably freshman year of high school. Me and Chris Cheatham kind of found ourselves on the bench a lot. I'd come in as like a defensive replacement, so I was never a really good hitter in baseball, but I have always had pretty good
Yeah.
hands. I played tennis. I'm coaching tennis right now, so tennis is one of my favorite sports. And but wiffle ball, I grew up playing with like Jorgie and Chris, especially. We had a one-on-one league at my house in my backyard. We'd play, and I kind of my wiffle ball swing kind of comes from just uh, a lot of playing a bunch of different sports and just realizing that in wiffle ball I can be all right at wiffle ball because I don't need to be the biggest or strongest guy. I just need to get my hands where they need to be. So that's I don't move a lot on my swing. I kind of just get my hands up into the ball. So I know they're like you probably you get to see Grant swing all the time. I mean that's someone who's got like a baseball swing that fits perfectly with the ball, so it just looks a lot nicer. But I just got to be. I know my role in the league. I know I'm not gonna be hitting 10 homers a year. I know I'm not the scariest guy at the plate, but I just have to make it tougher on opponents just to get guys like Kyle Saylor and JP up and wear out the pitchers. And then if I can hit an occasional home run at the right time, I mean that's kind of my role and I embrace it. So just got to get my hands to the ball and make that pitcher work for the bigger hitters on my team to thrive afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think there's something to be said about consistency. We've seen guys in this league go up and down, right? They have phenomenal, I've done it myself, had very strong years at the plate and then, other years not so much. I feel like for the most part you've been consistent, like you said, a role player. You'll hit a few home runs a year. Um, they seem like they come in the clutch moments, which matters more. It really does. Tommy and I, talk about just like the importance of execution. Like the stats are one thing, but it also kind of matters when those stats come in terms of the flow of the game and stuff like that. But I think I could probably learn a thing or two from you, just watching your approach at the plate and just consistency in terms of contact. um, I guess on that note of learning things from you, where did the nickname the professor come from? I was curious. I don't know if Jimmy's told us where that came from, or if that was given by Jimmy, but where did that come from?
Honestly, out of nowhere, really, I think it was my first, maybe second. No, I think it was my first series with the Wildcats last year. And like I've known Sailor well just from playing against him and stuff. But then when we became teammates, um, the first time I got a hit, I think on the first or second hit on the Wildcats, he just started calling me the professor, and I didn't know he was talking to me. He just kept saying the professor. So I did. It took me a little bit to realize that he was referring to me, and I asked him what he was talking about, and he said he just looked like a professor, like a teacher, like a vet on the squad. So I was like, all right. And then Kyle thought it was funny. JP thought it was funny, so it kind of just stuck. So that's all Sailor and just really out of nowhere. So since then it just kind of stuck, I guess. But it's I mean I'm teaching now, so I guess it teaching and coaching, so I guess it fits. But yeah, out of nowhere. And like I said, when the first couple of times he said it, I honestly didn't even know he was talking to me. So
That
pretty
is
funny.
awesome, but I gotta say, like, there are nicknames that come around in sports, but just in general, where um you might not even necessarily know where they come from, but they just kind of make sense. Like they just kind of fit and they stick for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I for the long I didn't even really question where that nickname came from because I felt like it made so much sense for you. But I guess let's you mentioned kind of the teaching and the coaching. I'm just personally interested. Like, what do you teach? What do you coach? Um, is that your main job outside of wiffle ball? I guess let the people know what else is going on with Liam outside of hitting walk-offs.
Yeah. So my I went to Michigan State. I got my degree in journalism. So I was a reporter, a sports reporter, and photographer at a newspaper for about a year and a half after doing uh, covering sports at Michigan State while I was there. And teaching was always my number two option, or like my number two on what I wanted to do. My mom is still a teacher. My grandfather was a teacher, so it's always was in the back of my head. And then I just decided that I wanted to come live closer to home and have a different type of working at a different type of field where I wasn't up until midnight every night.
Yep.
And I could have like summers, and I really wanted to coach, and I couldn't do that with what I was doing as a reporter with those hours, and couldn't really plan around that. So came back home. Now I am working towards hoping to be a high school English teacher. I'm taking classes right now, but currently I'm building sub at Hamtramck High School, like around Detroit, and coaching tennis there. And then in the winter, I'll be coaching basketball with Curdy back down river. So just doing a lot of things, keeping real busy, but hopefully it will be full time in a classroom by January. That's the goal.
So I promise folks we'll bring it back to wiffle ball, but this is what you get when I'm the solo host. We might branch off for a little bit. I'm just curious. I never played tennis growing up, like, at all. I just never did it. My parents never did it. Me and my friends never did it. However, in college, just when we had some free times, or some free time, we kind of just started messing around and playing. And it really gave me like an appreciation for how hard tennis was because I was like, yeah, I can play ping pong. Like I just have to run and play ping pong now, and it's not like that at all, obviously. So when you're like coaching tennis, I guess give what's like the first like three things like basic tennis. Person's never picked up a racket. What are you telling that person?
But yeah, this is a good question because the school I'm
Thank you,
teaching at,
thank you.
yeah, it is a good question. When I was a
That's
journalist, that
coming
was my
from a former journalist, by the way,
yeah,
folks. So let the record show.
that was my favorite compliment to get. But when so the school I'm teaching at is a very diverse school, and a lot of kids that I'm coaching are didn't grow up in the States. So none of the kids on the team right now had ever played tennis until this summer.
Okay.
So we really had to start from it's brick by brick every day. They're awesome kids. I love what I do, but it's not like a job where I came in and I was just like managing. Like we had to teach these kids. So the first three things we had to teach them is how to hold a racket, um, how to, and then the ground strokes, the forehand, backhand from the baseline, uh, would be the second thing, because those are just the shots you hit the most. So how to
Hmm.
hit those shots and keep them in with velocity and spin, so you're not just hitting the ball over the fence or right into the net. Then third would be the serve, which is kind of difficult, but some people pick it up really quickly. So, but the kids on our team are picking up tennis way faster than I picked up tennis. So that's what makes me so happy about it. Is that just watching them learn every single day. So, but grip, uh, ground strokes, and serves probably the first three major
Yeah.
things you got to learn.
The grip was the first thing I noticed was like the hardest to kind of get the hang of because it's like you can't like grip it too loose because if you try to hit the ball, the racket will just kind of slide out of your hands and it won't go where you want to go. You also can't just like death grip it because then you're just gonna hit it like you have no control. Like it'll
Yeah.
just it'll go so far. Do you like watching tennis too?
Yeah, I try to watch as much as I can, especially the big tournaments, the Grand Slams. But just I've been so busy this summer that I haven't watched as much as I would like. But I did get to watch the Olympic final, which was really good, and then I watched Francis Tiafoe. He's American. I watched him in the U.S. Open. Um, he lost I think in the semis or the finals. I can't remember, but I got to watch his run in the U.S. Open, which was cool.
So this is a question for a tennis person. Are the sound effects necessary?
The grunts and
The
yeah.
the sound effects, are they is it just a byproduct of how physically, because when you listen to like football and like mic'd up situations, you actually like realize how much of like how many noises they make and how you can just tell they're like physically trying hard. So it makes sense like in tennis, like just because of where the mics are and like the audio that you like hear more of that. But I also feel like sometimes people kind of like blow it out of proportion. Like, is that what's your take as like a tennis, a tennis fan and player? Is that necessary, or do some people take it over the top?
Uh, that people definitely take it over the top, but if you're stressing yourself that much, it does kind of it does come out sometimes. Like you'll hear pitchers in the MLB too, like if they're really reaching back and throwing one hard, they'll let out a little grunt or whatever. But I do agree with you. There are some players that like to perform, I guess, but you can tell there's some that hypes them up or it gets them through when they're tired.
Yeah,
It's like mentally telling yourself that you aren't tired. It's kind of just like that kind of thing. So
yeah.
some people it helps.
Very cool. Well, you learn something new about every day. We were talking on the last podcast just about how cool sports are just in general. So always excited to learn new stuff about other sports. But I guess bringing it back to wiffle ball. Um, the let's talk about the walk off, because I personally have specific memories or moments in my mind where um something I was doing playing sports, obviously in the actual time, it's not going very fast. But when you're in the moment, you feel like you have like a million thoughts going at, a second or whatever. And this one with the ball, like hitting off the top of the wall, I felt would be like a great example of that. So like, I guess just take me through your thought process, like through that whole, I guess it wasn't really much of an at bat because it was the first pitch, but just that whole sequence of events.
Yeah. Well, going back, um, the the first homer I hit in the league with you guys against the Cobras, that one that was a big home run, and I don't have any recollection of anything until I got to like I think I was rounding second, then I kind of snapped back into it.
Yep.
So now that I've played a little bit and I don't get as nervous and I can kind of breathe and take everything in. So that I remember this one vividly. So I when I first hit it, I thought, well, I knew Trevor is not going to walk me especially, but he's Trevor's good at what makes him such a good pitcher is how he throws strikes that are not over the heart of the plate, but kind of near the pipe or in the shadow of the zone. So I knew I wasn't going to get something right over the middle. So I was ready for that, and I think he threw it like kind of up and in on me and dropped a little bit, but um, I didn't want to get fall behind because I knew he was going to throw a lot of strikes, so I was just ready. First thing I saw, but when I hit it, I thought it was a no doubt homer. So I kind of was like, I couldn't when I saw Grant lining it up, I was like, there's no way. Like we've had so many unlucky bounces, so many things happen to us this year that it just hasn't up to that point just had not been our year. And I was like, oh no, not again. We've had too many things go wrong. And I saw him leap and push that fence back. And when the fence slung back, I thought the ball was going to come back into play. So I kind of waited. And when I saw it drop, I, then I was kind of just a sigh of relief. And I don't really yell often, or I'm not like a loud person, but I definitely, I think I yelled "Let's go" or something, but that's not that's kind of unlike me. Even in big moments, I don't really like yell or be very vocal, but it was kind of just a sigh of relief of like everything that whole season. And then I shoulder bumped Pat, who was like a whole foot taller than me, and I stayed on my feet. But then Ty came in and knocked me down. Like you knocked me down a couple years ago after that one play. I remember that. But yeah, Ty out of anyone knocked me down. And then I remember telling the guys like uh, we were all excited, but I remember telling the guys like this happened last year, like when I hit the homer against the Preds, and we ended up losing, so it didn't really matter all that much. And I told them like if we want to make the playoffs right now, we can do it today. We don't have to rely on anyone else. Like everything else that's happened this year, we just got to win this one game, and then we just figure it out in the playoffs. So I was trying to like really just get like locked back into game three as quick as possible. And obviously, you guys buckled down and did what you needed to do. But I was trying to really just make the playoffs that day and not have. I didn't want to have to worry about anything else. So it was fun for a couple seconds, but then it was right back to business after probably 30 seconds, 45 seconds after I crossed home plate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you obviously had a right to be excited there. You guys are fighting the season on the line. I mean, just watching like the video back, um, it was an incredible comeback. Like for you guys to even be in that spot, for you to hit that home run and get that win. So I'm sure the emotions were obviously flowing, but you're right. You know, you got to turn around one more game, and get get locked back in to try to really seal the deal on your playoff hopes. So, on that note, you kind of mentioned the ball maybe hasn't bounced your guys' way a few times this year. I would say personally, like going into the season, all the time leading up to the first series, the Wildcats were I wouldn't say like a sleeper team. I don't think people were sleeping on you, but I think they were. I feel like I had you guys higher than maybe some other people did. I thought you guys were record wise at least. I obviously think you guys are a great team, but I thought your record would look a lot different at this point in the season. So I'm sure you probably think the same way. I think on paper, your guys' bullpen is solid. Your guys' bats are very solid. When you just look at your roster top to bottom. So I guess, being actually inside that dugout, that organization, what do you think's been the biggest thing, I guess, limiting the Cats this year? Why have we not seen maybe the season that we would have expected?
I think we don't really have anyone else to blame but ourselves. I think one game we have been looking back at, or that's I've personally been looking back at that really just a game that we just can't lose was that game two in Brooklyn. We were up three in the third, then we were up three in extra innings, and the Cobras battled back and got us there. Um, and just stuff like that. I feel like we just haven't been as good this year as of last year. As one mistake or one thing going wrong, we kind of have let that linger more this year, I think. Um, but and then it's just been just small things that have ballooned into bigger things. I think last year we had this problem too. We would go down in games, but we were really good last year at coming back um, and fighting back. We had a lot of walk offs. I know Jackson had a walk off off you guys last year off RJ after he had, I don't know, I think that might have been the first runs RJ gave up. So that was
I
a
think it
really
was
big
against
win.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Mallards last year we came back, had a walk off or maybe two, but just this year we were just uh, Kyle's been amazing at the plate, but we just like myself included haven't been able to really um, capitalize on him getting on base so often. So just things like that, just not driving in runs and then letting mistakes build. And I do also think in my whole time in this league, I've never seen a pitcher with his stuff as nasty as Pat that has gotten hit in some games. Like his stuff looks the same every single game. He's the most consistent pitcher that I've played with, and it just some teams one game a series will lock in, but then the next game he'll throw the same stuff. and then no one can touch him. So I think that once Pat, like I think Pat has a chance to be like one of the premier arms in this league with his stuff. And I think like building on that, if we find our way into the playoffs or next year, like he's someone that I think is going to be just keep getting better once he gets used to MLW pitching and because he's got a lot of pitches, and if he starts to land that knuckleball too, it could be really fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment because when you look at some pitchers that have have had success in this league, I would argue that there's a fair number of them. There's a few kind of phrases that Tommy and I have kind of thrown out there for this. Like, for example, I'll give an example of Blade Walker last year and kind of his pitching ability. It would almost be described as like effectively chaotic. Like it's confusing because the pitches that he throws, you almost can't even really tell what the pitch is, and it breaks a different way every time when it kind of starts in the same spot. And that makes it really confusing for a hitter because it's just hard to predict. It's hard to predict where to put your hands. I mean, you might see a pitch come out of his hand and be halfway to the plate in the same exact spot, and then it ends up basically on opposite corners of the plate. Um, Conversely, obviously a guy like, let's take Ryan Cratch or Jimmy Norp, they can get a lot of movement on their pitches. What kind of pitch it is typically, right? If it's a drop ball or if it's a slider, but they're still able to effectively kind of locate. And I think what we're seeing with Pat, and I think, this series was a good example of him. He kind of mentioned it before the series, just he wanted to mix things up a little bit. And it, like you said, he's so consistent that it's almost an advantage for the hitters because he's so consistent. Like his pitches, they break the same way. And he's around, like those first couple series, I feel like he would agree that he was probably almost throwing too many strikes. They were all hittable pitches. Whereas you take a guy like Jordan Robles, and we've seen the videos this year of how many times he's just getting guys to swing and miss on balls inside, and you're watching it like, as a spectator, not having playing Jordan, going like, what are these guys swinging at? It's the same pitch every time. But he's the same way where he's able to very slightly change the outcome of the pitch when the start of the pitch looks very similar. So it's an interesting concept. I think if Pat can figure that out, I agree. I think he'll be really dangerous. We've seen it with RJ, like because our mound is so close. I know some fast pitch leagues play with mounds that are a bit farther away. And obviously you're pitching faster. But with our mound being, however many feet away it is, I think it's 38 feet to the back of the rubber. I mean, you got a guy like RJ or Pat who's 6'5", 6'6". I mean, that ball's coming on you fast. Like 72 miles an hour from 38 feet, which turns into like 30 feet practically when they pitch the ball. I mean, it gets on you fast. So we've seen it in games with RJ too, where he's got that same thing kind of moving consistently, and people are able to track it. People are able to hit it. And RJ too is on his best when he can locate, he can switch it up, he can get guys to chase, sequence a little bit better. So I agree with you there. I think Pat's got all the tools. I think the Wildcats have all the tools. Wiffle ball is a game of inches, man. Like just like football, like we saw with your home run, like a couple inches in, and that game's different. You guys might be totally out. You do have a chance here. So you guys are begging for the Mallards to sweep the Cobras, so you guys can get into the playoffs. I guess, what are your expectations for this series? You think there's a chance? Do you not think there's a chance? And if so, I guess, what are your expectations going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a chance just because you look at that roster. I mean, you got Robles, Jorgie, Preston, Tommy. You can go. I mean, Davenport, Matt. I mean, the whole team is full of good football players, and I don't think that that's the type of group that will, even if they're not playing for anything, I don't think they're just gonna throw a game away just cause. Like I think that they're gonna go for all three if they can. Um, and so I definitely think there's a chance, but it's like I'm not gonna get. Um, it's still on us that we are in this position. So I'm thankful that we at least have a chance. And but it's just still a disappointment up to this point that with the roster we had that it is not we didn't control our own destiny at the end of the day. So that's a little disappointing, and it's definitely something to build on if we do get into the playoffs. It's something to learn from, mistakes to learn from um, into this year's playoffs or into next season. That we don't want to be in a position where we're letting other teams dictate what happens with us. So I'm just gonna have to talk to Jorgie and tell him to play his best next time I see him, and we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, Roba's I mean, he is so tough to hit. And we've seen him just shut down some of the best offenses in the league. And the Cobras do have a good lineup with a lot of depth. So going to need some good days, some good games out of Robas, and then whoever they decide to throw, whether that's Jorgie or Preston, to help finish out that sweep that we need. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna ask Jorgie for his other Mallards jersey when the day comes.
Well, I do think like I said, all about the truth, all about the facts here. I do think your odds are slim just because it's tough to sweep a team, man. The Cobras are pesky. I mean, you guys know that better than anyone. So it'll be tough, but um it's nice that there is at least somewhat of a chance. So
I will say really quick, I don't think I
yeah.
mentioned this, but we were down, obviously JP and Sailor,
Yep.
and I was just I like I said, like overall season disappointing up to this point, but I think the fact that uh like Ty, Pat, and I were able to grind out at bats and help Kyle out. I was proud of us for we didn't we got the news that we would be down those two early that morning, so I am proud of us of for just not showing up and just accepting our fake playing against a good team like you guys. We came and we played about as hard as we could, and I think that on that day, I was proud with the effort we displayed on that day for sure. And Ty, I think uh, he had so many at bats that the video didn't show that were super deep in the counts. He wasn't swinging at bad pitches. He had a couple balls foul that were close to being homers. Like Ty's getting better every single day, so that's really fun to watch. And he really grinds and learns from each at bat. So he's definitely someone to watch out for next year or into the playoffs as well. Just um, if he's able to get another shot at a big moment, he does not back down. So I don't think that anyone's going to want to see um, him, and that was a good learning experience for him to have to take those big at bats with those two guys out of the lineup.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I was impressed with your guys' effort. Made us sweat a little bit more than we wanted to. We just needed one win, obviously, to secure our spot. And you guys made us earn it, man. We had to fight with everything we had to get that one win. So I agree. I think that's a little bit overlooked that you guys were missing two of those key guys. Agreed too that I don't think the video, obviously did some of the at bats justice. It's always hard when you only see the outcome of the at bat, but yeah, like Ty was I was not feeling great as a manager, like just about every time he stepped up to the plate, just with the at bats that he was putting together. So I think that's a great pickup for you guys. I think he'll be, he's obviously a local kid. He'll be around and available. So I think that was a good addition for you guys. And yeah, we'll see what happens if you guys get in. Not a team I would want to play, but we'll see what happens. So
Yeah, we're fingers crossed over here. We'll see. And I know if we get in, we're gonna just put the regular season behind us and just grind out every single at bat. And I know that Kyle, as a manager, is one of the best there is at just keeping the like with everything going on during the field when he has to do all the video stuff. He still takes the time before each at bat to help us out. Me, Ty, Pat, JP, Sailor, whoever it is, giving us tips with all his years of knowledge behind him. So yeah, I know that if we get in, he's gonna be, and he wants it bad, so he's gonna be ready for it.
Yeah, I love that he left in that like sequence where Trevor was kind of talking to RJ and then he's like, oh, let me guess, like drop ball in the dirt. And then RJ just I was like looking at that like, RJ, you gotta throw something else then. Like he just called you out on it. You can't go to the drop ball in the dirt. Like throw him something else. Like he
Yeah,
just called it.
I saw RJ smile like he called it. I'm like, all right, he's throwing a completely different pitch here, but he kept with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's over a decade worth of with a ball and countless at bats. Yeah,
Yeah.
he knows what's coming.
No, he is. He does for sure. Well, Liam, I really appreciate you hopping on. You're welcome on the podcast anytime. I apologize that it took this long, but you're definitely invited. We'll have you on again. So future recurring guest here, Liam Jackson. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks.
No problem. Hopefully, we're talking about a Lions Super Bowl later on.
Yes, that's right. Go Lions, baby.
Yeah, go Lions. Thanks, Jack. Good talking to you.
All right. Peace. Thanks again to Liam Jackson, aka the Professor, joining us once again on Pipe It Up. Always a pleasure to have Liam on. I gotta say, I do miss having Liam on the squad. Just a great, genuine human. Really fun to have on the team. So, wish the Wildcats the best of luck. Obviously, not too much luck because fighting for the last playoff spot here. So, I guess just to give you guys my thoughts here overall on the series, just watching this video back was cool in a way because we get to this point in the year, and I think as most of you guys know, these videos are not necessarily coming out close to when they're being played. So this series was actually played a while ago. I think it might have been played maybe a month ago at this point. So it had been a while. I had actually forgot, honestly, a lot of how the games played out. Just like a few things that stood out watching the video. I saw a lot of comments about AJ and specifically his ability as a first baseman. That's something I've noticed throughout this year for sure. His reach and his length is hard to deny at first base. I think he really helps Grant out there and just helps us out as a defensive unit, just with the range that he has. So definitely look to see AJ out in the field a bit more. He got some experience he got some experience there last year. But I guess I didn't really give him much of a chance to play in the field last year because we kind of, we had a good thing going with the unit that we had. But I think he's proven that he belongs out there in the field. So definitely look to see that out of him. But the Cats, they kept their hopes alive. I don't think that it's likely they'll make it, just given what they have to have happen to get in. But that being said, we've seen crazier things happen in MLW, so certainly not out of the realm of possibility. A couple other things that I know Tommy would have loved to talk about had he been here, but Kyle, just game 2, making a signature Kyle Schultz catch off a pop-up in foul territory. It was funny actually because Trevor makes a Kyle catch, what I would call a Kyle Schultz catch, in almost the exact same spot. It was a little closer. He didn't have to range as far. And then a couple innings later, Kyle just basically one-ups him, puts his stamp on it, reminds everyone that that's his style of catch. I think the reason that Kyle he gets that many opportunities to make that catch, is if you watch those catches always happen off the same pitch. So they're kind of his riser that tail into the zone. They start really low and almost outside of the zone. If you're a righty batter, the ball's far away from you and coming back into your body. And I think what happens is, obviously, because it's a riser, most people, when they try to hit it, if they don't hit it clean, their tendency is to swing underneath the ball. And so that obviously will naturally pop it up. But I think the other thing is the way Kyle throws it is his body finishes towards that direction where the ball always pops up. So when he finishes, some people, when you see they're a right-handed pitcher, they'll pitch the ball and say it's a slider, they'll finish with their body like on the right side of the mound, take out all the cratch, his crazy stuff where he's kind of hopping all over the place. Generally speaking, a lot of right-handers will kind of finish either in front of the mound or maybe a little bit to the right of the mound. And the way Kyle throws that pitch is he kind of follows through and almost finishes to the front left of the mound, which is kind of interesting. So he's already basically setting himself up in that position to make that play. And it's obviously it's not that crazy because we see him do it every year, but it's still such a difficult play to make. I mean, you don't see him drop those, which is the thing. Like, if he gets that opportunity, he always makes that catch. So it was kind of like I saw it, wasn't surprised at all because I've seen him do it so many times. He's good for at least one or two a year. But that was just an interesting little tidbit, watching that game back for sure. I think he puts himself in that position to make that play. And he's obviously got a good quick jump, once he sees the ball in the air to make that play. Other notable thing here, the double play. We'll get into the Waffle House challenge, but Magic had a double play. That was cool to see. Obviously didn't have any implications. Tom would need the double play. So had it been 2-1 Magic, that would have been pretty legendary. I guess I'll give you guys the update on the Waffle House real quick while we're just on that note. So I still lead here, 23-22. So no blood from this last series. We both had 2-1 Magic. If Tommy would have got that double play, that would have been bananas. That would have really, really hurt, really cost me, especially with if the Magic would have won, but I would have lost the Waffle challenge. Would have been very conflicted here. So looking ahead now, Mallards, Cobras. We both have 2-1 Mallards, but I have the tie-breaking over. I mean, I feel like I have a really good probability of winning this. That being said, I think the most likely outcome is 2-1 Mallards with no double play. I mean, it's not typical to have a double play, and so that one scares me a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think I can lose at this point if my math is correct. So I guess worst case scenario, we tie, and I don't know what happens when we tie. We haven't figured that out yet. So, we'll see. Time will tell. But yeah, so that was the update on the Waffle House. Getting back to the series here. This is what happens, guys. Tom takes a little bit of a he had some work obligations. He says, Jack, you're going to have to take the pod solo. I said, no problem. I can do this in my sleep. Next thing you know, I'm just totally getting off schedule. Nothing's going by the script. We're flip-flopping between segments. There's no organization, no order. That's what you guys get. That should be the indication to you of what Tommy does for this podcast, namely organizing it, leading us through the segments properly so it makes sense for you guys. So if you're still listening to this point, thanks. Appreciate it. But back to the series, adding on what I said about AJ, just again, like I didn't even really remember how many insane plays we made in the field, between Grant and AJ. Just phenomenal defense being played throughout the series. Obviously, that game 2 LJ walk-off, that was a soul crusher. I was really proud of our team for bouncing back and getting that one win that we needed in game 3. After finally getting some runs on the board, AJ homers in game 2, which, we've just been waiting all year for that. After that, to have LJ walk us off like that, that was tough. So I was really proud of our team for being resilient, coming back game 3, getting that Trevor stepping up when he needed to, and just getting that win that we needed. So secured our spot in the playoffs, which is great, and looking forward to whoever we play. I mean, I'll say this, going into the postseason, my thoughts on the Magic, I think I was happy with what I saw from Trevor. I know he lost that game 2, but I thought that he pitched really well. And I think our bullpen, similar to last year, has what it takes to win a World Series. I think, again, you guys have heard this theme before, but it's the Magic needing to step up outside of Grant Miller, in the moments when the moment demands it, and that'll be the test. I think we could beat any team in this league if we face them. Certainly anyone in the AL, which we've shown. So it's going to be, can the bats come around? Can they come around when we need it most? So I would say I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic for the postseason. I think we can do it again. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I think we're going to have to win the big moments. We're going to really have to win the big moments. Those are kind of my thoughts on the series. PB was good. It was first time playing him. We kind of had the all slender man pitching matchup, I suppose, between RJ and PB. Two just absolute trees out there. So that was interesting just to see kind of both of them pitch, and things they did similar, things they did different. But I think PB will be a strong player in this league. I think he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to mix it up. He kind of talked about how he had kind of been grooving things a little bit too much over the plate, and wanted to switch it up on the hitters and give him a little bit something more to think about. And I think he did a really good job of that. So shout out to him. I think he'll be a great player in this league. Just got to stick with it. So yeah, great video. Great series. But let's get into the comment of the week. There we go. That was a good transition. This one comes from someone who says, watching the Wildcats without Sailor is like eating sandwiches without chips. Still good, but would be way better with. I agree. I love watching Nick Sailor play. I'm not sure what is going on. I heard that he was injured. I heard other rumors. We haven't seen him in a while. He belongs on the Wildcats, I believe, and I also, we need him. We need him in the YouTube channel. They seem to be it. I just couldn't agree with this comment more. I saw it and I was like, that's a great analogy. The Wildcats are still good. They obviously proved they can still win. They did it without JP as well. So they can do it, but it's just like not the same. It's not as good as it feels like it could be. So I just thought that was a good comment. Appreciate all the comments. I honestly haven't been reading a lot of the comments, I would say, mostly because of the statistics I'm putting up and what I fear may be in the comments section. But given the nature of this solo pod, I was tasked with finding the comment of the week. So I read through them, and I liked that one. So appreciate all the comments, though. AJ, if you're listening to this, you were getting a lot of love. I know you're not listening to this, but you were getting a lot of love. So Appreciate the comments, guys. Appreciate the interaction. Let's get into Fuzzy Numbers. Fuzzy Numbers is brought to you by ShedBall. ShedBall is a professional mini hoop basketball league with a 9-inch rim, a 4-inch foam ball, and 8-foot rim height. They have players, GMs, and real dollar contracts. ShedBall. It's funny because it's serious. The first 3 episodes of season 1 are on YouTube now, and for more information, go to shedball.com. Seriously, guys, check it out. Great channel. Let's hear from Tim and Fuzzy Frank.
Thanks, Jack. Tim Whalen, Commissioner ShedBall, bringing you Fuzzy Numbers yet again. Fuzzy Frank, Cobras versus Mallards. He's got the Mallards winning 2-1. Now, there's a lot of similarities between the picks for the 3 of you guys, Jack, Tom, and Fuzzy Frank, over the past couple. But Frank's sticking with 2-1 Mallards, and he says there's not going to be a double play in this one. By our count, that's going to leave Jack with still a slim lead in the Waffle House standings. Frank does say that the scoring is going to be, cumulative scoring per game is going to be 5 runs or less on average for the series. So, Taylor fade that, Jack.
Well, I think this is just a prime example of great minds think alike. Tom, Frank, and I are just all on the same page here. 2-1 Mallards. I will, however, fade his average run prediction. I think it's going to be higher than that. I think if there's one series where the Mallards are going to explode, it's going to be against this Cobras team. I think their bullpen has managed this year, but has been a little bit shaky and is still kind of figuring out its identity. And at the same time, we've seen how powerful the Cobras can be at the plate. So I think Justin Ash is starting to play really well, starting to come around, starting to be a key piece for their lineup. So, between him, Drew, Andy, I think there's going to be some runs scored. I think it's going to be exciting, a lot of energy. Always is with the Cobras series, obviously. So I'm going to fade that. I think the average runs will be a bit higher than Frank said, but nonetheless, I'll be tailing him on the 2-1 Mallards, as is Tommy. So what else, guys? I did get some feedback, some DMs on the homeowner journey, what we could maybe call a segment. We're still workshopping it, but I was driving over to the house today to do some work, just pick up some stuff, and the segment name came into mind, Humbled Homeowner. We always love the alliteration here for any segment, but that's kind of what you feel like when you start. It really could be anything. It doesn't have to be homeowning, but something you've never really done before, especially if you think of yourself or are a capable person. You quickly figure out how easy it is to make mistakes, especially silly mistakes, avoidable mistakes, and that can be very humbling. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if Tom listens to this one, he likes that. We'll keep that. But I guess for this week, I mean, it's literally gonna be every week probably, at least for the time being. Once we get everything situated, but again, was humbled by the fact that bought an extension cord from Home Depot. Super fired up this weekend to get the cabinets painted. That was the project for the weekend. So went to Home Depot. I knew I needed an extension cord. Of course, there's tons of sizes. So I'm kind of visualizing, the area that I'm using for the paint setup and the spray gun that I'm using. And I'm like, yeah, 50 feet, 50-foot extension cord. That'll do. Yeah, I think that'll do. And then very, very pretty much immediately when I plugged it in and started pulling it out, did I realize that it was not going to do. So I had everything else set up and then had to go back to Home Depot again. So that was awesome. And then, spraying the actual paint was that was a learning process too. About halfway through, just cabinets that were looking great. I was just kind of touching them up and doing a little bit, and realized that I had taken slightly too long of a break waiting for more paint to be delivered. And the paint that was in the gun had sort of dried up and started to kind of clump up. And so it was spitting out some nastiness, not a clean spray, not a clean paint job. So erased some of the work that I had already done, which was frustrating. Anytime that happens, it's just so frustrating because they're typically like avoidable mistakes, which is kind of what I was saying. Like, it's sort of humbling because you probably won't make that mistake again, which I found is valuable in this experience. Other than, I guess, measuring things before you go to Home Depot. I guess that might take me a few more times to learn, but nonetheless, what else? Also bought a lawnmower. Super excited to mow the lawn. I've never been more fired up to mow the lawn. So this was interesting. I first solo pod. I think this went well. I mean, I guess you guys tell me. You guys should just, if you're still listening to this point or watching on YouTube, you just gotta smash that like button, or comment. Just comment. Make sure this one hits the algo, so it just blows up. That way I can just tell Tommy, like, in a joking way, obviously, like, hey man, the soul, they just, they need more jack. They need more jack on the mic. No, I'm just kidding. No one needs that. You guys are probably just waiting for this podcast to end at this point. But nonetheless, great episode. Mallards, Cobras coming up next. It's going to be a banger. I know it is. I have seen AJ Ackerman smile before, and we'll see you all next week. Hang on. Oh, this is why I need Tommy. We gotta start over. I was not recording my audio. I had the Zoom, but I wasn't recording in the separate program. Oh, brother. All right. My bad. Pipe it up.